All my life, I've been surrounded by ordinary, change-making women. I am who I am today because of the women in my life. I was born and raised in Tanzania, East Africa, and groomed right here in Chicago. My family moved to the United States when I was 12 years old. I have to admit, the move was not easy. Being adolescent, then moved to a culture where you don't speak the language, nor understand it, it was a nightmare. And after all, as far as I was concerned, my life was amazing. Yes, growing up in Tanzania, I had an amazing life. Yes, it's so-called third world country, poverty-stricken country, but I had an amazing life. I did not know I was poor until my classmates took upon themselves to remind me with questions such as, did you eat food? Did you wear clothes? And my all-time favorite, did you have a lion as a pet? Yes, these are the questions that came out of the preteen's mouth. Of course, I did my best, my innocent self, to answer this question. But in the back of my head, I was always wondering, who is poor? Because as far as I'm concerned, if you had a lion as a pet, not only you are rich, you are wealthy. But the most important part, I grew up in a family and a community, especially the women, who made sure I had a very positive personal identity, who I am. You see, I was surrounded by ordinary, strong, influential women. My mother was a nurse. Yes, they are nurses in Tanzania before they come to the United States. My maternal great-grandmother, Mwitula, she was actually a bookkeeper for her brother's businesses. And this, I just found out, she was instrumental to making sure my father got his education. She did everything she could to make sure that my father had everything he needs to have education. My aunties, all of them ran their own business. My auntie Naima, she is a career woman who always reinvented herself in the various business. As we speak, whether she is training women how to sew, whether she's running and raising livestock, she's always reinvented women and other people in our community. I admire these women. I had no idea I wanted to be just like them, but they're the reason why I stand here before you. You see, in Tanzania, growing up in the 80s, I wanted to be just like them. Now, fast forward, 2018, those women that I admire as a change makers in Tanzania are no longer deemed as a change maker. Those women in my mother's generation, my great-grandmother and my grandmothers, are no longer seen as those who are making an impact in the lives of the young people. Thanks to globalization, we love it, but also it's the reason why now people are seeing things differently. For example, in today's Tanzania, those who are deemed as change makers are those who are married to wealthy. Marry older men or somebody outside of your culture in order to secure wealthy. Number two is that you are marrying somebody with a famous name, those former politicians or somebody comes from those families, like dynasty. There are still those in Tanzania and other African countries. Video vixen, I was told people may not know what video vixen is. So video vixen is admiring model who wants to be in a music video. Yes, that's happening in Tanzania. Also, the most important part is beauty queens. Everybody wants to be Miss Tanzania. Now, there's nothing wrong with these things, but let's take example of Miss Tanzania. There can only be one per year. So what does that mean if we use that as a standard for measurement for success? What happened to the rest of the girls? What are we telling them that their social impact or their lives or their dreams do not matter because they don't fit into what the mainstream has described and celebrated as a change maker? It breaks my heart when I encounter young girls every time I go to Tanzania and they cannot identify themselves in the mainstream. And the truth of the matter, mainstream is what we have. But like most girls, I tell them, I'm not a former beauty queen. My family does not come from well-known politician name. I did not marry wealthy. My husband's from the west side of Chicago. Yes. Yes. No, am I a video vixen? Well, but that also, I have a dream to be able to make an impact in the community and my people. So I decided that just like those women I admire growing up, I have a space and a place in this community to make an impact. So as an ordinary woman with desire to be a change maker, without a mainstream support, without those people in the mainstream that look or sounds like me, I decide to look into other avenues. I can encourage other young girls that looks just like me to see themselves. And the best thing for me was education. So I continued with my education. After all, it was the reason why my father and my mother worked so hard to get us to this country. And while I was in school, first forward graduate school, I had an opportunity to do a study abroad. And I decided to go to Kenya. Now, if you're from Tanzania, Kenya is not a country you decide to do a study abroad. You have to look that up, the love-hate relationship between Kenya and Tanzania. We actually love each other, but it's just one of those things. But the reason why I decided to go to Kenya because it was very clear to me. It's only 6 hours away from my family, and afterwards, I'll go visit them. And during my trip there, my whole life changed. I know it sounds very cliche, but it did. I encountered various women organizations, and one of the organizations I did was the Kibera Paper Project. And it's an organization that works with women that mainstream have defined them as unskilled, vulnerable, marginalized group of women. That's what mainstream has described them. But when I met these women using the recycled material to make some most beautiful products, it reminded me one thing that I've always knew. In Africa, yes, in Africa, from Ghana to South Africa to Zambia to Kenya to Tanzania to South Sudan, in Africa, the resource, the gifts, the talents are endless. And with the right place and the right possibility of resource, these women are skilled, they are talented, and they're able to feed their family. So I watched these women work and provide for themselves and their family, and my mind started walking. As an entrepreneur, you can tell the feeling of excitement and frustration that comes with inspiration and purpose. The path is so hidden and fuzzy, but that excitement, what is the possibility it could be once you reach there, points to north, and you cannot help but to wonder, what is your role in all of this? So my journey in Kenya ended, but my long work towards contribution to my community just began. As an African woman, I understood, and my purpose and my responsibility was very clear. So I came back to Chicago to finish my semester, and I was very excited, and I started taking classes about entrepreneur and economics and social responsibility, corporate social responsibility, and then reality eats. In one of my classes, professor being professors, and trying to get us to be excited and be have a critical thinking, he made a statement that disturbed me to the core. And he said, the reason why Africa does not develop because most Africans are not philanthropy. And most Africans, once they receive their fancy education in the Western country, they do not go home and contribute to the economy and rebuilding of their countries. Yes. Remember when I said I was raised in Tanzania, groomed in Chicago? So all that part of Rahel was coming out, and I wanted to respond, but then I understood where he was coming from. But in the back of my head, I said to myself, perhaps Africa does not develop because Africa does not have Africa to colonize. Perhaps African countries do not have country for free labor of 300 years. Maybe, perhaps. But I didn't say that out loud. After all, I'm nice, meek, submissive African girl, so I let that Chicago in me kind of mute in. But I understood where he was coming from. He was coming from that school of thought of what we call brain drain. But I knew the other side because I watched my parents to today. They constantly support their family and community. As far as I'm concerned, Africans, we invented philanthropy. It's who we are, it's in our DNA, it's our lifestyle. But that moment led me to understand what is my role in retelling and rewriting what we as a society view Global South, especially Tanzania. And I want to be able to retell those stories because I thought about the family members, the women I grew up admiring. I thought about the women in the Kibera Paper Project and how their story are just a footnote. But what they do makes an impact. So I decided to focus my research on how grassroots women social entrepreneurs are key to economic development. So I did that, I wrote my thesis, and after successful done, I looked at the most expensive piece of paper I ever received in my life, and I asked myself the so what question. What am I going to do with this? So I turned to my sister and my business partner, and together we formulate our business plan, and ILAVA was born. ILAVA is a social responsible brand that works with women in Kenya and Tanzania, and our goal is to empower women and to inspire change around the world. We have the audacity to believe that Africa can be a manufacturing hub. Also, practice corporate social responsibility during the pre-profit growing stages of the business. We encourage people to celebrate, to see African as a lifestyle and not a trend. We also view philanthropy the same way. We do not wait until we accumulate our profit in order to give back. We give back during the growing stages. After all, ILAVA is not just a name of our brand. It's my childhood name given to me by my ordinary, change-making maternal grandmother. And it literally means it can be done. And the coming of ILAVA was not so easy. We encountered various challenges because after all, again, the mainstream do not associate what we are doing with ILAVA with somebody that looks and sounds like me. I had to swallow a bitter pill in proving myself that I was good enough and I had the skill set to do for my community just like somebody else from the Western country can come in and do the same. Also, I had to understand that the measurement has to be different to how we see these changes and how we support people that look and sound like me. My measurement is embedded in the culture and the language of the women that I work with, and is also embedded in the skill set that I accumulated as a businesswoman, but most important, it is embedded in a place that we can never measure, and that's the love, the pain, and the passion I have for my community. And as a business, we do challenge the notion that you can give back during the growing stages. So we donate 20% of our sales, not profits, sales, to organizations that provide services to women and girls. Our current project is called One Girl, One Bike, where we provide bikes to girls in rural Tanzania, forgotten girls, who are now no longer have to walk 2 to 3 hours in order to go to school. They can now spend time studying with their families and their friends and creating positive change in their community. One bike, one girl, one change maker, and indeed, it can be done. And last year, it was done. ILAVA showcased ILAVA, clothes that made in Tanzania with so-called unskilled women. ILAVA, an organization that is working with women that have been defined as widow or HIV positive. ILAVA, clothes made in a country that is defined as poverty-stricken, third world country, showcased its line at the LA Fashion Week. And we named that line the Lost Girl Collection in honor of forgotten girls to the world's youngest country of South Sudan. Indeed, it can be done. At the end of the day, I'm just an ordinary woman who was inspired, moved by ordinary women. I want to inspire other African girls. I was once that little girl with a dream to be an impact of the world. But the mainstream did not see me as such. But with ILAVA, I am able to retell, to rewrite, and recondition community in how they see change maker. The question is what you can do in order to support those who will never be in 100 most influential magazine cover of Times. They will never be in Forbes 30 under 30 or Forbes 40 under 40 magazine. I may never be considered fashion tycoon, and that's okay. But I know there is a real Rahel out there who does not fit the mainstream definition of what it means to be a successful person or a change maker. And today, I'm telling you, you are a change maker. I stand before you today because women that I admire, who never had the respect or be called philanthropy, social entrepreneur, business women, career women, mold this person. And because of that, I can stand here and say, I am an African woman, I am a social entrepreneur, I am a philanthropist, and I am a change maker. And as long as I have breath in my lungs, our story will be told. Thank you.